We got a bunch of them on here. We got Reloading from the Hot Pot. How are you doing, sir? Long time no see. We got Navy Vet in the house. Pranic is in the house. Ranger's in the house. I see all those wrenches. We got Unit 4. And Scott. Hey, Scott. How are you, buddy? Yep. EDC, and it means do you carry every day? I've talked, cheers, everyone. Got a little Evan Williams this evening. Hello, MZ. How are you? But, I've had people ask, if I carry every day and stuff like that. So I just wanted to get y'all's opinion. Hello, Clyde. How are you? Yes. What up, family? We are our family for sure. So hello, everyone. Y'all can all, and of course there are some content creators on here, so definitely reach out to each other and go subscribe to one another. Hello, Ohio Gear Guy. How are you? But yeah, I wanted to get into the EDC thing because I think some stuff is dumb, in my opinion, because I've changed a lot of my EDC. So, and I wanted to see if y'all are on the same page or, what. And my thought process about some stuff. Because you got some tactical Timmies out there. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to be. And I kind of used to be a little, I'm never been in the military, never been law enforcement. I want to reiterate all that. I'm just a normal guy, like a lot of people out there. Hello, Dexter. How are you? And man, I am ready for some time off. So I'll be off next week. I'll be off starting next Monday till like the 2nd or 3rd of next year. So I'm going to take a bunch of time off. I bet it is, Ranger. I bet it is. What's y'all's temperature there? You probably got snow and all kinds of shit. Still smell smoke from brush pile. Man, I don't know what it is, but I love the smell of like a real fire. Like sitting by a campfire. And it never fails. Every time I sit down, I get all the smoke. And then you'll move, and then the smoke goes that way. Then you move, the smoke goes that way. Never fails. I attract all the smoke. Ohio Gear Guy says, just picked up a Staccato HD 4.5. It's a part-time winter carry and my Filster floodlight. Hoping to get a Shadow 2 compact carry soon for daily carry. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. What do you think about the Staccato? -1? Holy crap, Scott. That is insane. 4 for a low tonight. Wind chill -7. That's insane. It was like, I think it got up to like 69 degrees today. It was actually pretty nice today. We got a little chill in the air the evening, but nothing that cold. God dang, man, that's crazy. Yeah, I used to love sitting. As a matter of fact, I used to have a fire pit in the backyard. A big, one of those big welded. It was nice, but my wife didn't like it because it looked like a barbecue pit, she said. So we got one of those tables that has the propane tank in it, where it's the fire in the middle of the table with the lava rocks. I mean, it works, but I'm not super impressed with it. I like an old school fire. Hello, Rich. How are you? Scott says, the older I get, the less I like the cold and snow. When I semi-retire, I'm definitely moving freaking south. Yeah, I hear you, Scott. I've got some older, I have a coworker of mine, and he has a house in Pennsylvania and a house in Florida. So he's already left Pennsylvania a while, like maybe 2 weeks ago, and he's down in Florida now, so he goes back and forth. Yeah, old school fires are the best, man. You get that crackling and that popping. Man, that's awesome. I really miss those. Man, I even like them in the wintertime when I fire up one of the smokers, like my barrel smoker. I'll get it cranking, and I'll put some, like pecan wood in it, and I really love that. Hello, A. Barnes. How are you? Let's see here. Ranger says, since winter has set in, started carrying my P211 GTO outside waistband. Easier to cover up with my jacket. I want to test the GTO for Cary. That's cool. I mean, I love carrying 2011s. Nothing wrong with that. I'm cheering for global warming. Yeah, Pranic, I agree with you, man. After 6 months of our summers in Texas, yeah, hell, it seems like we have 8 months of freaking summer sometimes. But yeah, I like the cold. Definitely like the cold. But I wanted to get into the EDC. I've had, people like, oh, do you EDC that? Do you EDC this? Or what is your EDC? And then people ask me all the time, why don't you ever do any EDC videos, like lay everything out that you carry? And I'm like, well, I've done it before, but it has been a long time. And I want to talk about it on the live chat just to get y'all's opinion. Ranger says I always carry a bigger frame pistol in the summer or in the winter. Yeah, I could understand that. Smith & Wesson needs to make a 2011. I don't think Smith & Wesson will ever get into the 2011 game. They got the 1911s, but I just don't ever think they're going to get into the 2011 game. I mean, I don't want to ever say ever, but I just don't see them doing it. Their 1911s didn't do all that well. They're good guns, but they just didn't do all that well. Brannick says my buddies get together in the winter and burn wood and talk trash to each other. Yeah, that's what I always like doing. Had friends come over, we'd sit in the backyard and burn a big old fire. It was one of those, y'all have probably seen them. It's those big round steel things, and it's got like 4 legs, like that tall. And I had grates, where you could swivel them and cook meat on them. It was really cool. And also it had foot ledges on the side. This thing was heavy. It took to bring it all the way up into my backyard, I think it took 5 guys. I think it was 5 of us. And that was during my prime. I mean, it was huge. And we would all sit around it, and you could have feet ledges built on it where you put your boots on it. And you wouldn't burn them. But man, that thing was badass. And my wife was just like, this thing's a tank. It's got to go. She didn't like it that it was, rusting, but it's a barbecue pit. So I'd spray it and scuff it up and stuff and knock the rust off of it. And I didn't have a cover for it, which I have covers for all my grills. Ranger said, see the new Shadow 6-inch, Shadow 2 6-inch, yeah. Yeah, Unit 4, I used to spend a lot of time in Wisconsin back in the day. Yeah, I had a guy make it. It was actually a really, really nice fire pit / grill. And, people cook s'mores on it and hot dogs and all that kind of shit. We got a lot of use out of it. What's up, Pop Doctor? How are you, brother? Reloading says, I like living in Ohio. Good mix of weather. Yeah, I mean, Texas is too, but man, that heat, whew, it definitely gets hot. But on the EDC, let's just go ahead and get into it. Because, and maybe y'all haven't asked, but a lot of people asking if they watch the replay, they can see this, or some people can. But I always EDC a good gun belt. That's a must. And I use the core dominantly, very, very dominantly. It's always the core essential. Gun belts, the ratcheting systems. They've sent me some I bought. I think I bought 2. I've got it like a total of 5, I think. I've got the multicam, the arid, the black, the tan, or FDE. And I actually wear the black one when I wear black slacks. And I've got another color. I can't remember what it is. I think it's like a pattern or something. Or one of the camos. I don't remember. Maybe it's the black camo or the multicam. But, so I always had that. Have a good holster. Been rocking Armsman holsters forever. And really like them. And the reason that I rock his and that I really, really like his is I carry light bearing guns. All my guns, my Cary guns, do have lights on them. Now granted, am I going to point it at somebody and go, hey, where are you? I'm scanning for where you are. No, I'm not going to do that. But I do like lights on my actual pistol, and for a couple reasons. If I'm getting into the business, that light's coming on if needed. If not, it's just riding there in the daytime. So it does a couple things. It mitigates recoil. Not that I'm recoil sensitive. I can handle a gun, but it helps if you're really having to blaze down some stuff. But y'all have seen me blaze down stuff without, I'm not saying I'm a great shooter. Don't take it that way. But I mean, I can manage recoil. So I don't have to have a light, but I prefer a light. Because also it gives me like a purchase for like a thumb, where I can just put my thumb on. I don't have to turn it on. I just like a thumb rest, so to say. It's not necessarily a gas pedal, because I got those long thumbs and they don't get in the way. So I do prefer that. On the actual gun, it has to have a dot. I'm a dot guy, so it will have a dot and a light on my Cary gun. Now that will be if it's a 5-inch, a compact, semi-con, or whatever you call those slim guns, like the CR920XP. Matter of fact, that's the carry for this week, is the Shadow System CR920XP. That's what I've been carrying in the Armsman holster with the TLR7X on it. And it does have the EPS carry. I really do like that dot a lot. And I just run the single dot, not the big, round thing, or not the circle dot, or circle with the dot. I just run the dot by itself. And that's what I prefer. And I like the smaller dots, the 3 MOA. I don't like a 6 MOA or an 8 MOA or a 10 MOA or any of that because of my stigmatisms. It just makes it look like a 10 or a 12. So the 3, I guess, looks like a 5, maybe. So that's what I prefer. Your mileage may vary. Oh, look, we got a little guy on here calling me a loser. Yeah, his mom likes me. But, so we got that. And I do carry a pocket flashlight. Sometimes it's just a little stream light, pin light, the little small one. Sometimes it's a little bit bigger. Or I have a Surefire, I think it's called a Stiletto. I think that's what it's called. It's not the metal version, it's the plastic or polymer version. It works really good, so I carry that in my pocket. And of course a wallet, a cell phone, snuff, and an extra mag, depending on where I'm going. I have a tourniquet in the vehicle, but I don't carry a tourniquet on my person. And really that's it. Oh, and car keys. But really that's it. I don't carry the tourniquet on the ankle and everything. I used to back in the day, but I don't anymore. And all this like med kit, full med kit where they carry it on their person and all that stuff. I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in a long, long time. I don't carry the kitchen sink, so to say, like a lot of people, do or say they do. I don't know if they actually really do it. But some of them post in their video, I'll carry this and this and this and this and this. And if they carry it in a bag, the bag's like that big. It's, one of the sling bags, so it's this big old monster bag. And I, as a gun guy, know exactly what's in there. Y'all probably do too. And bad guys might also. So I don't carry all that shit. I think it's overkill. And I'll say something a little controversial. If somebody's trying to attack me or my family or anything like that, and I have to do what I need to do, I'm not going to say it, but y'all know where I'm going with this. After it happens or happened, I'm going to make sure I'm covered, no other bad people are around, going to call, FLP, call the police, all the stuff I should do, and say I'm the victim. I was attacked. Not, oh, here's what happened, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to say, no, I'm the victim. This is what I was told to say. I'm the victim. I was attacked. Here's the address. Gonna put it up and wait. Am I an EMT? No. I mean, should you help the person you put down? You know, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you know, there's probably going to be some civil stuff involved. So if all of a sudden you did that and then you're operating on the person, is probably what they're going to say. You know, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I just don't know if I'd want to get involved in all of that. It happened. I did that for a reason. So, you know, that's kind of the way I look at it. So, I don't know. Let me catch back up. Cary makes a nice double thick leather belt I've been using for years. Yeah, I've heard of those. I've never used them. Let's see here. Rich B says, when you started carrying appendix, did you go up a waist size in your pants, or did it work at your normal waist size? Normal waist size. I didn't go up in pants. You know, you're going to kind of push in, like say if you've got a tactical muffin top like I do, you're going to push in some fat, just being honest with you. But when I don't have it on, my body's like, you're missing something. Now, can I still grab it easily? Yes, but I'm not saying it makes a divot in you and it permanently stays there. I'm not saying that. It's just, it belongs there. If your pants are a little tight, it's not going to kill you. You know, and then you can ratchet up your belt to your specification. That's another thing I like about the Core. You know, if I go somewhere and I've got my gun on me, appendix, and I eat a big steak dinner or whatever, I can click it out 1 or 2 clicks. As I'm sitting, and when I get back up, it's just quick, zip, you know, click, click, you're done. I've talked about this before. Also, the reason I like it is when you got to go do your business, like say you're doing number 1, you click it all, or you click it out a lot, but you don't, I always leave them a little long. You don't open it up like a normal belt, like a buckle. You just click it out, leave it like a hula hoop where it's connected. Physically grab I use DCC clips, the metal clips, so I slide it, I leave it on, but I slide a little to the right, take a piss, zip it up, move it back to right at about the 1201, right over the right nut, and zip it up, click, click, click. And that's the way it is. If you had to do number 2, you can still keep it as a hula hoop. Pull it down, keep your gun on the belt. You don't have to pull it off and set it in your underwear or set it on the toilet seat. And you just drop trowel and do what you need to do. I mean, that's why I like those belts so much. So, no, I've heard people say, oh, I went up a size in pants. If that's what you want to do, cool, but I've never done that. I just use my regular jeans. That new Shadow 2 cut isn't cut for a dot in 2025. Why not? Because it was made for overseas and it's made for target, that bullseye shooting. That's what the new 6-inch was designed for. It wasn't designed for, you know, USPSA and all that other stuff. I don't even know if a 6-inch will fit in the box or whatever. You know, it could, but I don't really know, to be honest with you. I haven't done that in a long time. What's up, DB? How are you, buddy? It's just silly Ranger, even Glock's up a cut, yeah. But like I said, it was made for a specific thing, US or ISPC in Europe, and they don't cut everything for optics. Reloading says, I carry a full med kit with the fire extinguisher in my car. Yeah, and I've got that too. So, but I don't carry it on my person. Not saying it's bad or good if you do or don't. That's just my choice. Pranic says, it isn't CZ. I blame Colt for all these CZ mistakes. It's how I cope. Can't sue if they're not breathing. Yeah, that's true. Full med kit in the car with stuff, an emergency airway Staples, tourniquets. Damn, yeah, I've got a bunch of that too. Calling for assistance is helping. Yeah. I'm not helping. Yeah. Med kit doesn't have to be for them. I think compassion for the attacker would go a long way. I'm not saying you can't, like if you want to help them or whatever. Um, I just don't know how deep I would get into, let me, I guess there's another reason, or let me rephrase this. I have actually done CPR on an older man that had a heart attack in front of me in a car. I noticed the light had turned green and the car was just like rolling. And I was like, something's not right. Well, anyway, he bumped into the other person because they had stopped. And I saw him slumped over and I'm like, something's not right. So I put my truck in park. I jumped out, ran to his window. And the car was just barely creeping. I mean, it was like just barely moving. Luckily, the window was down about that far because the door was locked. So I reached in, unlocked the door. He had already had a heart attack. Gave him CPR. We felt a pulse. The paramedics got him there. They said he was responsive or whatever, had a pulse. They took it from there. And I later found out that because of his age, he did pass away later on in the hospital. They kept him alive, but he had had a major, major heart attack. And then I used a tourniquet in a car accident, one of my tourniquets, the Cat 7. This was 2 or 3 years ago. Lady was in a car crash. Her leg was ripped. I mean, ripped. From it went under the dash. So I put the tourniquet on her. I did not have a Sharpie. However, I looked at my watch because I had one. And when the paramedics got there, I told them what time I put it on there, but I did not have a Sharpie on my person to write it on there. Anyway, that lady was fine. So it all worked out. I think it's needed more in the car. You could run into a car accident before you would use it in a situation. I'm just going to say that. So that was me. Tanker we seized today. Have a gun go bag and med go bag. Yep, I've got those in the truck too. In both my trucks, my company truck and my personal truck. I'd be wearing body armor if I went to Indianapolis. Speaking of experience, I have done compression a bunch of times, maybe saved 2 or 3 people that way. You do what you can and what you're comfortable with. Yes, putting in a trach and stuff like that, I'm not going that route. CPR and stuff, I can do that. I used to be a lifeguard back in the day, and I was also a volunteer fireman. So I did learn CPR. I've also done the Heimlich in a restaurant. Matter of fact, it was to a customer of mine. That was weird and awkward, but saved his life. So that customer and I are still friends. We've been friends for 20 plus years. So had a piece of steak hung in his throat and it was bad. So we got him fixed up. Matter of fact, after that, he had to have I never even heard of this. He had to have it to where they put he was okay, but he had damage from, it was jammed in his throat. So he had to have they put this thing down his throat when they put him to sleep and they expanded it to stretch his esophagus. I've never heard of that. But they had to do that for him like months after. So anyway, he had to have that procedure later on down the road. But anyway, so yeah, it was, he had esophageal dilation. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, so I guess that's what he had. So, no, he wasn't drinking a martini. It was a piece of steak. Change of clothes is good. Ever sneeze so hard you shit your pants on the way to work at 5 a.m.? Me neither. That's good. In my personal truck, I have a t-shirt, underwear, the little quarter socks, the like running socks, and I have a pair of athletic shorts. I do have those in a go bag, but not jeans or any of that. But I do have a coat in there, like a big thick. It's kind of like a Carhartt with a hood, but it's not a Carhartt. It's a different brand. I can't remember the name of the brand, but it's really warm. So I do have that rolled up in there, and it's pretty thick. Um, Says I have Ranger reminded me enough of Baltimore that I wanted a weapon. Yeah, but I think, when you see these videos and this guy, now there's a difference between your EDC and your go bag. If you're doing hey, here's what's in my go bag, that's a whole different video. But if you're saying, here's what I EDC on my person, that's different. Some people carry those sling bags, like the Vertex and all those other things, and I get it. But I still kind of, and I know people carry those and they walk around in public with them, but I still look at those as a go bag. And I don't really carry a go bag on my person, like a sling bag. Um, you know, like just walking around a park or something, because those things stick out like a sore thumb to me. I don't care if you get it all black or you get it all gray or you get it, olive drab or whatever. When I see those, I'm like, that guy's got a gun. I mean, that's just what it screams to me as a carrier for 25 something years, 30 years. Um, you know, Again, I'm not picking on anybody that does that, but I just think all these bags are kind of weird. Now, if you're carrying like a PDW or something, I guess I could see that. And then, of course, in my backpack, for work, I've carried extra mags in that. I've thrown some mags in there, but I'll have the gun on my person. I have been in meetings before where I'm wearing like a suit, and it's just the suit's a little tighter or more form fitting or fitted, and it would stick out like a sore thumb. So I have moved the gun on my person to the actual bag, but the bag never leaves my hand. It's literally on the table in front of me. I'm walking around with it, or it's physically on me, but that's just for that meeting. I don't like going to a grocery store with the bag. I will move it back to my person. Indy has everything nationally except American. Can't stand that place. Being that I live in a cold climate, I keep heavier weighted clothing in the car. Probably should have one of those stupid for survival blankets. I do have one of those metal, at least like aluminum foil. However, it folds up into this little bag. It's like a little zipper bag. And if you ever unfolded it, I don't know how the hell you'd get it back in that bag. I really don't know. I've never unfolded it. I just bought it and it's in that bag. It's called the emergency blanket. I see what you're talking about, Scott. It looks like a piece of aluminum foil. So I do have one in there, but I've never opened it, and just being honest. Hello, Lee. How are you? I use Nature's Pocket if I'm printing too bad. Come on, Prank. You know prison carry? Thought you were prison carried. Also, I don't know if y'all saw, we'll flip the subject a little bit. For 2025 Motor Trend Truck of the Year, the Ford Maverick won 2025 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Not saying the Maverick's bad, but in my eyes, that's a unibody construction. It's not a truck. But I think the little trucks are kind of cool. I know a person that has a Maverick and literally loves it. And they've had a truck before, a big truck. But they were like, I just want something smaller, to piddle around in if I need to throw some boxes in it or something. I'm like, no, I totally get it. And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. But man, I'm so used to truck of the year. It's like a big truck. It was just like, okay. In my eyes, a unibody has never been a truck. That's just the technician in me. But, nothing wrong with them. That they got the Tacos, the Ford Ranger, the Colorado's Canyons, the Ford Maverick, But I would look at a Colorado Canyon and those and the Ranger as more of a truck. Because the Maverick's kind of like an SUV with a bed, or a Honda Pilot. Those are unibodies as well. But there you go. Ranger said, seen a dude wearing a fanny pack, had the butt of his gun sticking out of it upside down. Those people make the 2A community look bad. Yeah, and I've seen the fanny packs too. And I mean, again, like I always say, people can do what they want to do. I'm not knocking anybody. I would never walk up to that person and go, man, you're an idiot. I mean, he's carrying a gun at least. Now, does he know how to use it? I don't know. But, people can do what they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it. That's perfectly fine with me. But yeah, when I see stuff like that and I see the guy and he's carrying a fanny pack or a sling pack or a backpack, and he's just carrying himself a certain way, I'm like, yep, he's carrying a gun. And that's not a bad thing. I think all of the guys in the gun culture could probably pick that out pretty quickly. And maybe the bad guys don't know or other people wouldn't know. But the guys who carry around those bags, I mean, I'm trying to give you a visual. The bags that are this long and they're on their person, I'm like, okay, that's a little extreme. And if it's a dad carrying a baby, like what are those diaper bags or something? I saw a guy that did a tactical diaper bag, so he had diapers and shit in there, but he also had gun stuff, so. Yes, it's supposed to be coming. Yeah, they don't have any power, Scott. You can do some stuff to a Maverick. They announced it at this year's SEMA. They've got a turbo kit and some other stuff for it that does add the horsepower. I think it bumps it up 60 horsepower after everything's done, but it's not cheap. My boss bought a Ford Bronco Raptor. Looks like a remote control toy. It really does. And they're not that fast. The Bronco Raptors are not that fast. No, the Tacoma's not. Man, those things are expensive too. Yeah, they've got a version overseas right now. It is a single cab. It's supposed to be coming to the States. It's a single cab, kind of like a work body truck, and it is off of the Hilux build. It's supposed to be coming. We're supposed to get it in 2026, I believe. It's supposed to be priced, I think they said under $20,000. But here's the kicker. They've got to do the conversion to where the EPA stuff is on it, because over there it doesn't have to have it. So it'll have to have the converters and the oxygen sensors and all that shit put on it. But supposedly it is coming to the States, supposedly. Don't mark my word on it. But the thing about it is it's very small inside. It's a regular cab. Think of a regular cab Tacoma. If you're about 5'6", 5'7", you won't have any problem fitting in it. But if you're 5'11", 6 foot, it's not going to be comfortable. You're not going to be able to fit in it correctly. So, but that's what's going on with it. What's up, Mateo? How are you, buddy? Put an LS in it? Yeah. Turbo diesel without the damn emissions? Yeah. The emissions are a joke. They're totally a joke on diesels. The DEF fluid is horrible. That's the stupidest crap they ever came out with. That stuff is trash. I always joke around with the diesel guys, and I used to be a diesel guy back in the day, but I didn't have DEF in mind. I'm like, you gotta put toilet water in your truck to make it run. And they were like, yeah, they'll drive around with those big jugs of DEF fluid and shit. I'm like, that's horseshit. That is complete horseshit. But also, this is me. I think ethanol is a joke too. It's been a joke. It's horrible if you really pull apart a ethanol engine. It gels up the O-rings. It's crap. It is total crap. We need the old leaded gas and call it a day. or the 93, whatever you want to call it, but without ethanol. Cooper's salted caramel whiskey. No, I've never had that. I've had Cooper's before, but not the salted caramel. I'm not really much of a flavor guy. Like the honey, the Jack Daniels honey, and Crown Royal apple and all that. I'm not really. You're not saying I won't drink it or try it, but like I've been places and tried flavored whiskey, but it's not anything I would probably buy and put on my shelf. Just not really into it personally. But I might find one I like. Who knows? And if I'm in the mood for stuff like that, sometimes I'll put that like in coffee. Kind of like you would put Kahlua in a coffee. To kind of spice it up. That would probably be pretty good. Pranic says ethanol kills seals like no other. Yes. Hello, Trigger Bar. How are you? I have pulled O-rings out that looked like they had snot on them. Yeah, they were horrible. And it was because of freaking ethanol. In the early days when ethanol first came out, man, it would expand seals. Like, oh man, people were having gas tank leaks and all kinds of stupid shit. This stuff was just horrible. But of course, they revamped the seals. But they're still not perfect. So, not an ethanol fan at all. Also, I did get, anybody that tuned in, I had to send my Steiner MPS in. It had like a little crack on the back window or a bubble or something. I couldn't feel it with my fingernails, so I don't know if it's inside, but nothing was rattling in it. And it wasn't all the way across. It was just right in the middle. So I didn't know if like a casing hit it and cracked it or scratched it. But again, I couldn't feel it with a fingernail. Not that I have long fingernails, but I even tried it with a plastic pick, and I was like, man, I can't grab that little scratch or crack or whatever it is. So I don't know, but I sent it in, I guess last Friday, and I had to send it ground because it had a battery in it and all that crap. But anyway, they received it today. So I just got, probably like maybe an hour or two ago, I got a little thing that says, we have received your optic, and I had been tracking it to make sure they got it, because those aren't super cheap. So they received it, but they're saying it's going to take 5 or 6 weeks for the turnaround time once they received it. So now I'll keep y'all updated, let you know what they do to fix it, if they repair it or if they send a new one. I don't know, but I'll keep y'all in the loop. But I love the optic. Don't get me wrong. I like the MPS Steiner a lot. I hate that when you pull it out, it's not a motion. I wish it was motion. And mine was the original. The one I sent in was the original OG one. The battery performance sucks, but I would make sure and pull it out, turn it on, verify it, put it in my pants, and it'll stay live for 10 hours. So throughout the day, if I'm driving, I can just look down at it and I'll just hit the button. I mean, I've never had it turn off, but once you hit the button, the up or down, so I would go brighter and then hit the dimmer, because that's right where it was with the light on, so it wouldn't wash out when I kicked the light on. And then it resets it for another 10 hours, supposedly. So, but I've never had it go off on me, like turn completely off while I'm, driving or throughout the day. So, and even if I go into the hotel or whatever, I mean, I might do a 10 or a 12-hour day and maybe hit it once in a blue moon, but I'm not usually doing 10-hour days anymore. So, but anyway, that's the update with the Steiner, in case anybody's curious. Because I did have some people ask, what did they say? Have you heard anything yet? They were just on, I guess they had watched the replay and asked me. It ruins carburetor parts. Yes, it does. Let's catch back up here. Just drive to the airfield and get 110 low lead general aviation gas. Yes, I used to do that. I talked about it. I used to run avgas in a lot of my race cars because I have an AMP, airframe and power plant. So I used to be able to get it at the airport. We have a local small airport. It's in the town up from me. I won't say the name of the town because then y'all will know exactly where I am. but it's a small airfield, and I've done 100-hour inspections there before, and I can buy fuel there. And I used to have the VP race jugs. I don't have them anymore. I had a bunch of them when I had my race car or race cars, and I would fill up there. And I'll tell you, if you run it in a car, I would mix it. I even did it with some high performance cars like my wife's car, and I would dilute it and run it with 93 because hers requires 93, and man, it'll clean some shit out. uh, it'll definitely blow a car or blow some junk out of their carbon buildup and stuff like that. Because when I was building her car, it took a while, to tune it and do all that other stuff. So I had a little bit of buildup just from starting it and dumping a bunch of fuel, or it was dumping a bunch of fuel while I was tuning it or getting it tuned. And I know there was a lot of carbon buildup on the pistons and the valves. So I used a little bit of that to blow it all out, and it definitely blew it all out. And if you do any, street activities, I would mix a little bit of it here and there. Yep, I did that a lot, Scott, back in the day. Yeah, you can, on those old cars, whew, you can pull some power out of that stuff. And it was cheap back in the day, man. I used to get that avgas for, what was it when I used to buy it? It was like, I was buying it when it was like $2.25 a gallon. I think at one time I was getting it for like $1.95 a gallon, but that was with my discount as an A&P. They would do that for the technicians who worked on some of the planes out there. They would do it for some of the pilots, but they would have a set price and then give you a discounted price. So, but I mean, I could still go out there and buy it, but I know it wouldn't be at that rate anymore because a lot of it's now like $6 a gallon and stupid shit. But I used to get it for stupid prices back in the day. So Rich says, so now that Glock is bringing out the Gen 6, what happens to the V series they just introduced? Why would anybody buy a V? Rich, I talked about this on the chat before. I think the V was for all the blue states from the get-go, for California and all that other stuff. And from what I hear, that's what's happening. So all the V series, just the standard plain Jane V series, will all be going to blue states, and the Gen 6 all the other states will have access to the Gen 6. Now again, you still can't put the little, light switches on either one of them, supposedly. But like somebody already made one for it, but you know what I'm trying to say. So all the regular old plain Jane V's they already made supposedly are for the blue states. So we'll see. Now, are you going to have the Gen 6 in some of the other states? Yes. Because you still can't put the light switch on them. They're going to find their way over there eventually. But that's supposedly what they're saying. And I have had people ask me what I think about it. I mean, I look at it this way. If you've had a Glock and you've done stuff to it, you've already done those things. Like I've done stippling, I've done the serrations, to my 19X, I've already done all that stuff, milled it for a dot, got the ramjet on it. I know they don't come with a ramjet, but all the stuff I want to do to the Glock I've already done. Now it's supposedly coming to the factory. Now, and this is a new trigger, a whole new trigger setup. So you're kind of stuck with what you get now until somebody comes out with aftermarket setups. But, is it a bad thing? No. I wish they would have made it modular so we could have like flux setups and things like that for it. That was kind of what I was wishing with the RXM was. I was kind of hoping they would do that. Am I mad about what they've done? Not really. Are they late to the party? Yes, way late. They could have done this shit 5-6 years ago or earlier. And then I think they wouldn't have lost their progression, so to say. But, people are going to buy it. They're going to buy tons of them. So they're going to sell the shit out of them. So You know, and I've had people ask me, oh, Trigger Bar's picking one up. I've had people ask me if I'm going to pick one up. I don't really need one. Um, but I'll put it this way. If I wasn't in the, or if I was like, didn't have any Glocks now, would I buy one? Probably so. Probably would. You know, just so I could say I had a actual branded Glock. But I think one that's slept on, honestly, this is just my opinion because it's modular, is the Ruger RXM. I mean, you can get those things for like $325 hairs now. And then you could put a Nicorette. You know, you can do different stuff to it. Um, you know, and I think it's pretty underrated. You know, I've kind of held one. I haven't shot one, but I have friends who have them and they like them. And now they have the 19X frame, or you know, the longer, you know what I mean. So you can put the 17 in it, and they're $40 for the factory Magpul frames. So I kind of feel, and it's already got the different cuts for it, you know, for the Delta Point Pro, the RMR setup, and it comes with the suppressor sights. I mean, that's the sad thing about Glock, the Gen 6. Still has a plastic sights on it. I'm like, really? Have we not surpassed plastic freaking sights? I mean, you know, because they're probably going to go for, you know, they're saying like $750 hairs. So I'm like, you couldn't even put some freaking metal sights on that thing? Really? I mean, but whatever. So that's got, I think they were going to finger to California Glock. Let's see here. Mateo says, I got an RXM chassis or FCU coming in. Didn't want to buy a complete gun. Oh, I didn't even know that RXM sold the FCU by itself. I didn't know they did. That's cool. Like I said, I mean, I think for $325 hairs, I mean, that's pretty hard to beat. And you know, Ruger is established as a pretty decent company. You know, I've dealt with their customer service in the past, and it was really good. It was for the 2245, and I mean, their customer service was stellar. Really, really, the lady was super nice. I mean, she was very gracious. I didn't say anything about YouTube. I didn't say a word about that. I mean, that was like 5 years ago or something when I used that 4 or 5 years ago. But she was super nice on the phone. She's like, hey, I'll even send you a patch. And I was like, oh, cool. You know, I didn't ask for it, but she sent me a little patch and she was just very, very nice. So they took really good care of me. I was happy. And what it was the grip panels, the little screws, and this happens on 1911s. The little press-in screws, you know, there are insets for the screws for like a 1911. When they screwed the screw in, I didn't even touch it. And I was like, this screw is sticking out a little bit. The head was sticking out just a little bit. And I was like, that's weird. So I was like, I need to screw that screw all the way in right when I bought it. And so I put a bit on it and I started tightening it. And I'm like, they cross-threaded this. I pulled it out. They had cross-threaded it from the factory. And so I called her and I'm like, hey, you know, not trying to be a dick or anything, but, you know, this was cross-threaded from the factory because I was taking them out to put the lock grips on them. And anyway, they're like, oh, we'll send you some screws, no big deal. We'll send you some inserts if you want those too. And I was like, yeah, you could send those too, just in case. So she sent me a set, like a couple of inserts and like 2 or 3 screws just to have. She was super nice. And I mean, you know, great customer service, just the one time I used them. So I think if you had any problems with the RXM, they'd probably take care of it pretty quickly. But I've only played with an RXM. I've never shot an RXM. But again, I have friends who have them and they really like them. So I think that's really hard to beat for the price. We got 16 people in here and 12 thumbs up. So I appreciate it. Y'all smash that thumbs up. Reloading says if Glock changed the sights, people will still change the sights. No, I agree. I was just saying, if they came with black, you know, if you're going to run an optic on it, which you probably are, I think having black backup sights would be a good idea. So that's just an opinion. And you'll probably be able to order the AmeriGlow, you know, like the version Gen 6 with the AmeriGlow. But even a lot of those aren't, you know, like suppressor sights. So, and this new optic plate system that they're having, I guess it's going to be set up for the Delta Point Pro and the RMR. I don't know about like an acro footprint, so I don't know on that. They didn't say. And if you did that, you might have to do a separate plate. You know, if somebody wants to run that acro type footprint. But for your EPS, your EPS Cary, you know, stuff like that. I mean, and it is polymer versus an aluminum plate. And people are like, oh, that's stupid. But it's really acting as a spacer. So with polymer, I mean, it's not bad to have that as long as it's just not going to brittle apart. You know, so I don't think it's going to be a bad thing. You know, just something different. And I guess we're going to see if it plays out over time. You know, if anybody has any problems with it or if it acts up, I guess we'll find out. But like I said, I think people are going to, I mean, I know they're going to buy it. You know, I already have seen some comments like, oh, I'm buying the 19, I'm buying the 17, I'm buying the 45 and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Now you don't know if those people really will, but you know, they could. So I don't think it's going to be a bad thing. Yeah, they're plastic plates or polymer. And you know, even in my business, we make a lot of polymer. And here's the thing, and I've been in the polymer business for a very, very long time, manufacturing. And well, how much can I say? Back in the day, we made some stuff for the military that I don't want to get myself in trouble. I'll just say this. Some lightweight polymer, some very, very lightweight polymer can definitely stop a bullet. So we'll just leave it at that. Think of a Superman suit. Think of a Black Panther suit. Think of a Batman suit. Think of stuff like that. I used to make it, or used to deal in it. So yeah, we've got some stuff. We've got stuff, or they make stuff. So some of that shit's very, very strong, very, very strong. Matter of fact, we did it as a joke. Well, not as a joke, but this was, and it was in a Super Bowl commercial way back, like 10 years ago. And they're lifting up a truck. It has hooks on it, big old hooks with chains. The hooks were made out of polymer. So there you go. So yeah, polymer can be strong, very strong. And that was my idea for the commercial. I was like, let's just show them what we can do. So we made those, and people were like, this is not going to work. And it worked. I picked it up with a helicopter. So Scott says, my level 4 plates are parts, ceramic parts, high density plastic. There you go, Scott. Just imagine the plastic. Depends on what's in it. But there you go. And they literally weigh like, well, the ones I saw are the ones we made. Dude, they were like a pound. Maybe, Scott. Maybe. But it's not future, Scott. This was back 8 years ago. 8 or 9 years ago. But yes, it has progressed even more. So literally, I'm not joking. Okay, I'm a big guy, I'm a heavy guy, I'm a chunky guy, I'm a fat guy, whatever you want to say. But I could put this on and it looks like I had a six pack. Think of Batman, Superman. It's some pretty cool stuff. So snap that on and you're bulletproof. Now, to a certain extreme, okay, to a certain level, anything pistol, you're good. Anything, and a lot of rifle. I'll just leave it at that. Richby says, how does the shadow systems you have compare to your CZ Shadow 2 Compact? I will say this. Shadow 2 Compact is one of my favorite guns ever made. But I actually brought this up to a friend of mine. I shot the Shadow 2 Compact, bang, bang, bang. You know, I shoot super fast. I really enjoy shooting fast. I don't like shoot slow. If you ain't first, you're last. And then I shot the Shadow CR920 XP super fast. The Shadow 2 Compact or Shadow Systems CR920 XP is actually flatter with the port, or the comp is flatter than my Shadow 2 Compact. Now they both have lights. Both have the same lights, pretty much. The Shadow 2 has the little bit longer one. But yeah, the CR920 XP is actually flatter than the CZ Compact, Shadow 2 Compact. But they both return really nicely. I love both of them, but one is striker fire, one is double action, single action, so there's a variable there. I shoot them both about the same pace. Not one is faster than the other for me. I love both of them, but one of them is lighter and smaller, a lot lighter. But, you know, that would be the Shadow Systems is lighter, of course, than the Shadow 2 Compact, because that one's all aluminum. But they're both great guns. They both hold pretty much the same capacity, unless I run the extensions. But I like both of them. They just kind of both, you know, serve different roles for me. Thanks, Ranger. I appreciate you so much, buddy. Pratty says my stepdad worked on the F-22 for 25 years. The research never stopped. It doesn't. Yep. F-22 is a fantastic plane, too. Yeah, Dexter said more than likely implemented now. Yeah, it is. I'll just be honest with you, it is. Yep. And that's what I'm saying. You know, when you, like right now, I'll just be honest with you, I can't say too much. We're already working on the 2027 trucks. You know, doing upfits and stuff like that on them. I can't say much. I won't say brands either. You know, so, I mean, stuff is always evolving. Stuff is changing. You know, and that's when we did that division back in the day. We had, you know, they called it the military division. I was in the automotive division. However, I saw everything and I got to play with it. And I'm a gun guy. So they were like, hey, come in and shoot this. And I'm like, cool. So yeah, I put some I put some lead down range with some of that stuff, and it's pretty impressive. I was like, what? And I'm like, I want it. Even being the manufacturer, I couldn't get it. Because there's a patent and it's filed by the company and the military. So, you know, I couldn't have even gotten it. I have pieces of it. I still actually have pieces of it, but I can't show it. So I'm not going to get myself in trouble. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool stuff. You know, it's amazing the stuff that is out there that we don't even know about. Because there's a bunch of other stuff from manufacturers. I know the manufacturers that have some of this stuff, and I've seen it, but I can't talk about it. But, you know, it's cool to know it's out there. So, and that's the first time I've ever even mentioned that. So hopefully it didn't come back to bite me in the ass. But the NDA on that has already expired. So, I mean, I'm good. But yeah, when we're in this kind of business, we have to do all kinds of NDAs. The NDAs on the hooks expired. On the other item I was talking about, it's expired. A lot of them are like 2 and 3 year NDAs. I had one that was a 4, but it's already expired too. But anyway, it is cool to be able to see some of that stuff and see how it works. But the cool thing about it is it's super, super, super light. And it gives you full mobility because it's sectioned. So, like if you were running, it's kind of like it just moves. Like, you know, when you're running, it kind of all moves and it's molded to your body. So, it's pretty cool. It's literally like a Batman suit. That's what's crazy. And it all just velcros together. So, super light. But it will turn you a different color, put it that way. Can't say what color it is, but I bet y'all can imagine. But, yes. So, but we had a whole military division back in the day. And I got to go in and see all the cool stuff, and I'd be like, yay! I want to play with that. And I was the big gun guy. They all knew that, so they were like, hey, bring it up here and test it out on this caliber, and this caliber, and that caliber. And I'm like, no problem. So, Reloading from the Pot says, the future is definitely here. Most just don't know about it. That's true. That's what I'm saying. There is shit out there. Well, like I've said a long, long time ago, and I come from aviation, and I've actually worked on one. So that was what was really cool, is the SR-71 Blackbird. That was the fastest plane that we had, and we retired it long, 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 long time ago. You don't retire shit if you ain't got shit. I've never seen the other shit that replaced the SR-71 Blackbird. But I had talked to pilots, I had worked on that plane, and it was an NDA, but that's expired. That plane was incredible. It was so freaking fast. Holy shit, it was fast. So you retire that, put it in the Smithsonian. I think there's 2 of them there. And you retire that, but what do you have? And I know we have the stealth bomber. I know we have all this stuff, but the stealth bombers are fast, but they're not that fast. So what do we have? I don't know. I really don't know. But you're not going to replace the fastest plane in your fleet if you ain't got something better. So that's kind of like, you know, some of the people are like, man, why hasn't this manufacturer changed this truck or this car in so long? Man, sometimes they'll do a refresh. They call it a refresh or a new model. Dude, everything under it's the same. It's just a facelift. You know, it's kind of like when Chevy came out with the new truck. Back in the day, I called them Chinese eyes, but you know, they had those little weird headlights. And I actually owned one of those. It was a great truck, but that was their refresh. It was just a new front grille and a new tailgate. That was it. But all the rest of the truck was exactly the same. So there you go. Yeah, Dexter's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's kind of what they do. And they'll just do a refresh, you know, where it looks different, but everything under the hood is the same. Everything on the suspension's the same because it just works. Mach 3.2 my ass. They could definitely go faster. No, they have. Yep. You're exactly right, Scott. I verified that with a pilot. Scott, can you see that? See how many I'm holding up? There you go. So, no, it was fast. It was very fast. Matter of fact, I will pull those pictures out. I've got one on the tarmac, or it's actually anchored to the tarmac, and it is full speed. And that thing is blowing a flame like 100+ yards out of the back of an SR-71 Blackbird. And I can show the pictures because the NDAs, I mean, they don't exist anymore. So I have pictures, physical pictures I took, and this is the old school where you would take a picture and you would have to get them developed. And I had to wait till the NDA expired before I could develop the pictures. But I have pictures, and it is insane how much thrust that thing would put out. It is insane. And I talked to pilots, and I was like, how fast is it? You know, Mach 3, Mach 4. And they're like, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. And then when I got to where I showed you a second ago, they were like, okay. And they stopped moving their heads. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, damn, that's fast. So, you know, yeah. They don't come out with slow shit. That's what I'm saying. If they retire something, they've got something better. Oh yeah, it's way cheaper to reskin a vehicle. Way cheaper. That's what I'm saying. You can take a lot of these, you know, modern vehicles, and you can throw a new grille on it. You can throw a new tailgate on it, and all of a sudden it's new. But I won't get into what's going on. But yeah, it's freaking fast. Yeah, I mean, Pranic says, I was told the speed of boats is much higher than what we were told. Oh yeah, they are, but it's, you know, it's resistance. And that's the same with the SR-71. You know, headwind. That's kind of like if you're doing a flight. You know, one way it might be shorter than coming back because you got the headwind. Same with an aircraft, same with a boat. But yeah, I mean, the buddy of mine, well, I talked about it earlier, the buddy of mine that choked, the customer that choked and had to give him the Heimlich, he used to race boats. He actually was a professional boat racer back in the day, you know, the kind that just barely touched the water because they're just so freaking fast. He used to professionally race boats. I mean, some of these boats are putting out like 900 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower on the freaking water. I'm like, what? I'm like, that is insane. I used to make that kind of horsepower, but on the asphalt, but not on the freaking water. So I'm like, that's freaking fast. And yeah, that's in a boat. I mean, that thing's not even, it's skipping. It's like not even touching the water. And these things are so, yeah, it's hydroplane. These things are so freaking fast. Yeah, I used to race jet boats. So, you know, that's an expensive hobby too. Race cars are expensive, but freaking jet boats. And I have a friend of mine who has, and he bought it from Bombardo. And they already have them out, but this is back when it was a prototype. But he has a wet bike that's turboed. It was one of the first ones, or it was when they were doing the prototypes. A lot of their pros were racing them, but it's called a Bombardo. And he's got a wet bike. He has a huge car collection and a wet bike collection, so his stuff is extreme. But he had a wet bike that was putting out, or I guess what y'all would know is like a Sea-Doo, but he called him a wet bike, but that's what they called it, but it was called like a Sea-Doo. He had one that had like 600 horsepower on a freaking Sea-Doo. I mean, that's insane. Trigger Bar said, thumbs up if you haven't. Yes, we got 16 people in here and 18 thumbs up, so that's awesome. Aircraft carriers can definitely go well over 30 knots. They just like to lie and not give away the true capabilities. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's way faster than it should be. And that's what I like. You know, I mean, I used to call them sleeper builds. I built a sleeper build. This was, man, I need to break out those pictures. I got a stack of pictures y'all would probably be pretty impressed with. But I built some cars, a couple of cars where they were sleeper builds. One was a 67 Impala, and it didn't look special. It was patinaed. It was natural patina, so I clear coated it. But that thing had a 455 in it. I didn't have it very long because I sold it because the guy really, really wanted it. He made it into a lowrider. But man, that thing would put down I think it put down on 11-1, 11-1 in the quarter. I think it was 11-1, 11-1, 11-2. It pulled the front wheels clean off the ground, and I had to shackle the engine in it because it would break the motor mounts. So it had chained engine to the motor mounts, or to the frame. But it was a fast car, and he wanted it more than I needed it, and he gave me a pretty penny for it, so I sold it. I had a 69 Chevelle, or excuse me, a 69 Olds 442 that came with a 350 rocket, or excuse me, it came with a 400 turbo, or 400 engine, because it was a 442, and I put a 455 in it. I mean, that thing was a rocket. It was super, super fast. I love that car. I wish I still had it. But, you know, it is what it is. A winner has failed many times, yeah. But I love just the old grandpa cars that just blow the shit out of you. A friend of mine had a Ford Galaxy 500. It was a 4-door. Had a 460 from the factory. I had souped that car up, and I think it was pushing, he dynoed it. I think he got, now this was back in the day, I think he got 560 to the rear wheels. I think that's what it was, 560, 540 to the rear wheels. Now this was way back in the day when shit wasn't that fast. And this was a 4-door Ford Galaxy 500. And it was manila. It was the ugliest freaking color, but the car was solid. It was his grandma's car. And we took the 460 out of it, and I think it totaled out to a 503 after we were 520. I think it was a 520. Can't remember. It's a long, long time ago. But man, that car was freaking fast. It was blowing all kinds of shit off the road. Farm truck, sleeper truck, yeah. I made a bunch of sleeper trucks. Did a 455 SS, or 454 SS. Those things came with 250 horsepower back in the day. Took that piece of shit out of there, and we put a 350 small block in it, and we were pulling more than 500 horsepower out of that truck. But the bad thing, it was not 4-wheel drive, so it would not hook up. I mean, you could just do a burnout. You could just race people in a burnout. Even with ladder bars, the whole works on it, trying to lock that rear end down. We couldn't keep the rear end on it. But that was a lot of fun too back in the day. I made some cool, I souped up some cool cars. And I really miss that. Oh man, I'd love to get back into that, but God, that's an expensive hobby. And it takes up so much time. And it's expensive. Oh my God, it's expensive. I mean, I was throwing belts, blowing belts, lifters, freaking valves, floating valves, left and right. Valve springs were failing. I don't care how you would build the lower end to make it bulletproof. You would build the upper end to make it bulletproof, and then you freaking blow something up. It just never failed. Never failed. That shit was expensive. And I even had sponsors back in the day. And even with sponsors' help, it was freaking expensive. And I was doing all the labor myself, but I can't do that shit anymore. And I was running a lot of magnetos too. I went from the distributor. I don't want to say I was the first, but you know, a lot of guys were still running distributors, and I was running magnetos. And a lot of people won't know what that is, but I was timing magnetos because I had my AMP, so I switched over a lot of those cars to magnetos. And when I was doing it, people were like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can set this sucker quick." Yeah, you'll always find the weak point, yep, and it never fails. You pull that, you launch, even in your burnout, man, I blew up shit during burnouts, and I was like, God dang. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Snap a belt, that was nothing. It happened a lot. Just on a freaking burnout. And I used to run a lot of my cars when I did street back, well, when I did street acceleration. That's the way I'm going to say it, street acceleration. Um, the old cars, I would turn the washer bottle with the old vacuum pumps. I would put bleach in those, and I would have them angled. I would have them run hoses all the way to the back, and I would use a fish pump because the regular vacuum motors weren't strong enough. So I'd use a fish pump, and I'd run them all the way to the back tires. So I had them angled down onto the back tires. So I would push the button for my windshield washer fluid, and it was actually punching bleach or a bleach mixture onto the tires so I could get them sticky. And I would do my burnouts. So during a street test run, I'll just say that, I could just hit that button 3 or 4 times and it would pump fluid onto the rear tires. I would heat them up. You didn't have to go and pour it because that was not, back in the day you couldn't do that, but I had to heat those tires up. Then I'd run Mickey Thompson 3 stripes. It was just 3 stripes of tread. I think they're illegal now. Back in the day they weren't. I don't even know if they sell them anymore, but it only had 3 traction or 3 tread on it. But man, those were great tires. But I went through a lot of those tires back in the day, but not now. Let me catch back up here. And it's 8:16, so we'll shut this down here in a minute. 350 is still king. So much aftermarket out there, you just can't make them, you can make them crazy. Yes, I agree with you, Scott, 100%. I always tell people, man, I've got an old car, what should I buy? I'm like, 350 small block, man. If you're not gonna go LS, definitely go 350. Man, you could pull some crazy horsepower out of 350. Yeah, belt is easy, but sometimes when the belt breaks, it breaks for a reason. I had pulleys come off, I had pulleys break. And sometimes the belt would just snap, so you can just pop another belt on it and you're good. But man, you start rotating it and you get play in it and you're like, oh shit, it broke for a reason. I've had cams break. She can get inferior parts, and it kind of goes back to my whole belief with guns. MEM versus, tooled steel. It's kind of the whole cam thing. I'm telling you, I had a lot of cams fail, and they're like, but this was, not tooled, but this was forged, or this was, MEM or whatever. Yeah, it had a failure point, and cams are the first thing to show it a lot of times. Reloading said, when I built hot rods, I'd finish one up, pull it out, light it up. If something was going to break, we didn't have far to push it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the minute you light up those slicks, you're like, ah, crap. And man, I would, I even worked on buddies' cars, and I would have them light them up, and I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm like, nope, it's not right. And they're like, what do you mean? It's perfect. I'm like, nope, you're not pulling maximum horsepower out of the car. You were shorting that car. And they're like, what? And I'd go in and I'd, adjust the valve linkage or whatever. And then I'm like, set the timing. And I'm like, now listen to it when you burn out. And they're like, holy crap. And I'm like, yep, see, we got another 8 horsepower. I was a big stickler about that. So that was a lot of fun. To be legal, only 1 tread. Yeah, but I ran these on the street a lot. So I did the Mickey Thompson 3 tread, I believe. I think it was 3 tread, if I remember right. What size were these tires? Are they 18s? I think they were 18s back in the day. But this was for one of my street cars. I had multiple cars. It was not, my wife was not a happy camper. She was like, you have too many cars. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Nothing like air tuning a small block. Yep. I could listen to it and I was like, nope. Doesn't sound right. They're like, but they're open headers. And I'm like, it does not sound right. And also, back before, now this is old school, so I'm going to go old school on you, but I would take a screwdriver, or an old pry bar, like a big old long pry bar, big old long sucker, and I'd put it on the cylinder. I'd listen to it, and I'm like, number 1 or number 3 or whatever it might be. I'm like, it's not hitting right. So we got to pull it apart. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I'm just telling you. And they're like, you're crazy. And then we do a compression test. And I'm like, I told you. Number 1, number 3, whatever it might be. I'm like, it ain't putting out everything it should be. And they're like, God dang, how'd you know that? And I'm like, you get an ear for it. So, because when you really listen to them, or now what they do is they get a heat gun and they check each cylinder to make sure they're putting out the same heat. But back in the day, man, it was old school. You get that, you're listening to it, you're listening to it, you're listening to it. So it was a lot of fun. Stethoscope, yeah. The borescope. Man, I got a borescope too. I had an old school borescope, a snap-on, and I sold that way back in the day. But I used the shit out of it. And I've got a borescope now. A lot of people don't know it, but I've got videos where I've checked it with a borescope. And this is really a good borescope. But I've never used an automotive. I've only used it with guns, with rifles and shit to check barrels. I know people say, how many shoes do you have? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Thermal image, the whole thing, yeah. And that's, man, I don't know, I'm still old school. And trust me, I know that they've came a long way, but I'm still old school. And I do have I had a heat gun and I would check things. But, when that came out, that was, shit, when did heat guns come out? Or thermal guns? Well, they come out like 10 years ago or something like that, 10 or 12 years ago. But the cool thing is I would always test myself. Like, am I still on par? Can I still pick the shit up? Or do I have to depend on technology? And that's the thing now. With these engines now, from when I worked on them, man, these engines are like crazy now. I mean, I look at this shit and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's like, now could I still work on it? Yes. But I'll have to dig all this shit out of the way, to get to the block. But could I still work on it? Yeah. But, I dealt with, steel intakes, aluminum intakes. Now they've got plastic intakes. They got plastic seals. They've got plastic tubes. They've got plastic coil packs. They've got all this plastic. Now, granted, plastic is really good. I'm not saying that. But I'm just like, man, to be a technician now, it's like, wow. Looking at all this new stuff, I'm like, wow. It is really, really, really different from an old school tech like myself. I haven't turned wrenches for a trade, I haven't turned wrenches in, what's it been, 20 years or maybe 20 years, other than a hobby. For a living. Now I did it with race cars, but that's a whole different animal now. It's not anything like it used to be. Scott says, I do the screwdriver check on hot water circulator pumps. Yeah, I used to do them with water pumps all the time too. What is sad is our generation is the last to do these things. Yes, I agree with you 1,000%, Hot Pot. There are people that don't even know how to change a freaking tire, like a flat tire. It just, to me, and I'm saying everybody has their thing, and I'm not picking on anybody, but I'm just like, and I've talked to people, young people, and they're like, well, I can Google it if it ever happens. And I'm like, but what if you're in an area where you don't get cell signal? And they're like, okay. I'm like, you kind of need to know some of this stuff. Like with my daughter, I was like, here's your jack. Here's how you use it. Let's do it. Let's put it together. Let's, figure this out. Because it's amazing how many people don't know how to change a tire. And I'm not saying everybody can do it. If you over torque the lug nuts, I get all that. But I'm like, man, some of this, in basic stuff in your home, how to fix it. I'm like, don't call a repair. Like, I've been over at my daughter's house and fixed I don't know how many things. And I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just like, oh, man, I'm just like, some of these kids should know how to fix some of this stuff. And that's probably the old school guy in me, but I just hate to call somebody to fix something. Now, this is one thing, and this is because of legal reasons. Do I know electrical on a car? Yes. A lot of electrical. Do I know electrical in houses? Yes. But will I go into a breaker box and start changing breakers and all that stuff? Because if something ever happened, and I know how to do that stuff, but if something ever happened, I don't want my name on it. That's the only reason. But plumbing and all this other stuff, yes, I do all that. And I guess your house could flood too, but you know what I mean? Uh, Dexter says way easier to learn when you're not in the situation. Yes, I agree. I agree. But, and that's another thing. The trade world is so underappreciated. And I've always said this, coming from my background, but I've always said this. People go to, college and they get all these degrees and they do all this stuff, but those SOBs can't even tie their own shoes. And I'm like, man, we've got all this infrastructure. We've got all of these different trades, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, where you can make a shitload of money and you have no debt. You have no debt. None. And you can make a shitload of money. People don't appreciate it. I don't want to get my hands dirty. I'm like, dude, we build this world. We have done this. And I'm like, do not neglect that. Do not underestimate that. I mean, blue collar guys, man, they make this world go around. They make this world go around. I'm telling you, you get your hands dirty, you can make some good money if you're good at what you do. If you're good at your craft, you can make some damn good money. I mean, nowadays, even car technicians aren't making the money they used to make. I mean, I used to make, well, I'm not going to say, but it was a lot of money. And if you're good at what you do, you can make a ton of money and you can advance yourself into whatever position you want. But, do not ever underestimate people. I mean, I would go into restaurants and of course I'd scrub my hands, but I had the dirt under my fingernails and I had the calluses on my hands. And, my wife, we met when I was in college. And, I'd already been turning wrenches. I'd already been working on cars and doing all that stuff. So my hands weren't the perfect hands. And I've got a lot of scars and stitches and all that shit from working on cars because you will bust some knuckles. But, do not ever underestimate a labor guy. Just don't do it. Because I'm telling you, I was making more money. And to be honest with you, I didn't finish college. I dropped out because I'm like, this is bullshit. So I went straight into trades, got my degree in working on cars, and was ASC certified. Worked up to Master Tech, got to Super Tech. So I was as high as you could go, and you can make a damn good money. Now I understand it's different with flat rate, and I was still flat rate back in the day, but it was different. But I was making way more money than all these college educated kids that had no degree working at freaking Starbucks. So, yeah, finding what you like to do is best, yes. Yeah, like I said, blue collar guys, man, make this world go around. If you are underestimating, let's see here, I cannot find help. Nobody will landscape any more pathetic. Yeah, I agree with you, Turkey. It is a dying breed. Like I said, man, to go out and turn wrenches, to go out and get dirty, to go out and do labor, people just don't want to do it anymore. But you can make some damn good money at it. I have buddies that I went to school with, high school with. One is a plumber. He owns a plumbing company. He's probably got to have 50 freaking trucks now. I mean, the guy's killing it. He's killing it. Another buddy has a welding company, and we welded in freaking welding shop together. He started a damn welding company. He's had it for probably, well, now I guess he's probably had it for 30 years, 25 years. He's killing it. He's got multiple trucks running around. They do fencing for horses. They do all kinds of welding stuff, driveways. I mean, welding metal structures, barns. I mean, he's doing everything. You know, these are portable rigs. He's making a freaking killing. He's probably got 20 plus trucks running around. You know, electricians. I mean, I know an electrician guy that's probably making 300 grand a year. You know, don't ever underestimate a tradesperson. Do not. Because I'd go into these sandwich shops with dirty hands. I mean, even after I scrubbed them, still had a little bit of dirt on my fingers. And people look at me like, oh my God, you know, this guy's, you know, he's a mechanic. Because I had my name on my shirt, you know, with the name of the dealership. People would look down on me, and I'm like, you know, and then I walked out into a really, really, really nice truck, and they're like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, $100,000 truck. I'm just like, man, don't ever do that. Never, ever underestimate anyone. Don't do it. It's going to bite you in the ass, I promise. So, but anyway, it is 8:31. I was going to shut this down at 8:30. So we've got 18 people in the chat, 21 thumbs up. So I really appreciate it so much. Again, with the EDC stuff, carry what you think you will need on your person. You don't need to carry the freaking kitchen sink on your waist. You know, I think that's stupid, and that's just my opinion. I think that's a little ridiculous. And some of these videos where I see where people have 9,000 things laying out on the table, and they're like, I carry all of this. I'm like, bullshit. I'm like, bullshit. You don't carry all that on your person. They're not talking about a bag. They're talking about on their person. I'm like, you don't have enough pockets to carry all that shit, so don't give me that crap. So anyway, but Navy Vet says, maintained and operated high-rise office buildings until I was forced to resign medically. Didn't get rich, but it was very rewarding. Jack of all trades. That's what I said. Man, I love, like, my wife will be like, do you think you can fix this? And I'm like, watch me. And then she's like, is there anything you can't fix? And I'm like, I can fix a lot of shit. Speaking of fixing shit, real quick, when I'm off, I've got toolboxes I've got to set up. I've got to switch from one toolbox to another toolbox, which if you're a mechanic, that is not good. That is a endeavor in itself. So I'm going to be doing that, switching all the tools over to the new toolbox, adding more stuff. That's going to be a whole ordeal. I'm just telling you, I'm probably going to move it 19 million times, but I'm just going to get over into the one box so I can give away the one box. I've got a friend, his son is interested, it's a really young son, but he's interested in, tools. So I'm going to gift him this old toolbox. It is a standalone. It is, oh God, what is this thing? I don't know, it's one of my side boxes that I had. It's 24 inches. I think it's 24 inches by, I don't know, anyway, it's got multiple drawers. But I'm going to gift it to him and some tools. I'm just going to give him some tools I don't use anymore and let him run with them. He's not saying he wants to be a technician. He just wants to set up his own toolbox. So I'm just going to gift it to him, give it to him. This guy's been a friend of mine for 25 years. So I'm just going to hook his son up and let him run with it and just gift it all. Get rid of it. While I switch over to a new toolbox and adding a bunch of new tools that I bought, I will go over the tools. I want to start talking about some tools too. Not saying everybody's a technician on this chat. That's not what this is about. but I want to talk about some tools that I think every person that does home stuff might appreciate. So if y'all want to tune in for that, please do. I might even start adding stuff to the other channel, uh, Big J's Pit Stop. You know, people are like, hey, why don't you take your tools over to that channel? I'm like, maybe I will, or maybe I'll do some on both or periodically on both. So if you're not a subscriber on Big J's Pit Stop, maybe you might want to be. Not trying to get you to do, you know, anything that you don't want to do. But anyway, that's going to be getting set up. I will do that on my time off. I've already said I've got to because I got to move stuff around and move stuff out. So that's going to be happening. Also, I've got some other stuff I'm going to be giving away, but it's really to local people. So if you're local to the DFW area, let me know in a chat. And if you're a long-time subscriber, not a newbie, and I'm not hating on the newbies, but these long-time people really deserve some stuff. So I'll be gifting some people some of this stuff that I move out of my garage. If you're local to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, please let me know. Maybe you will receive some of these items. And we can meet somewhere, I'll drop it off to you, and you can be blessed with some of this stuff. But I just want shit gone. So I gotta start moving stuff around. I'm tired of this crap. But anyway, I appreciate y'all so much as always. Hit that thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, I've said this, after the first of the year, if you're an OG subscriber, you've been with me for a long time, we're gonna start giving away all kinds of stuff. Dots, flashlights, lock grips, probably some holsters. I've got a bunch of holsters I'm going to be giving away, and I will ship them out to you. You won't pay a dime. I'll just cover the shipping and I'll ship them out to you. But I just want to start moving some shit out, just being honest with you. So, and I've even thought about doing some pew pew giveaways just to move some stuff out. So if y'all can be blessed with that, we'll talk about it, but I've got too much shit. So have a great night, everyone, and I appreciate you. Oh, yeah. So yeah, like I said, I just want to share some goodies with y'all, and I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all have a great night, and remember, reach out to a family member. If you haven't talked to them in a long time, they need some love, please reach out. Say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Just wanted to check on you because people need that right now, especially this time of the year. So please do that. But everyone stay safe, stay armed, carry on. Y'all know I always talk about that. And remember, an unarmed nation is a very weak nation. So we all got to carry on. Thanks, everyone. Y'all take care.